All right. What's up and sorry, the clap. What's up and welcome to my live unboxing of the Zephyrus G14. This is an RTX 3060 laptop, 144 Hz 1080p display with a Ryzen 9 5900HS. This is a super thin and light and portable machine. It weighs less than 4 pounds. I've got a scale. We'll have to weigh it and see exactly how much it weighs because, the manufacturers always give you kind of like a little bit slimmed down weight, it seems like. But I'm really excited to check this out. Now, if you do want to support my channel, there is a link in the video description down below. And there's also a link to a spreadsheet that I've made right here that you can use to compare and shop around for different laptops. So this is arguably the highest performance, super thin and light. Like if you're looking for an ultrabook basically that can game, this is probably the best option or close to the very best option that money can buy right now. Just taking a quick look through here. Now, you can currently order this. This is currently in stock in the United States for $14.99 from Best Buy. And I think this is probably a pretty good bang for the buck, considering how much performance we're getting in such a thin and light package. You can see Asus claims this is 3.6 pounds and 0.7 inches thick. So this is so thin and so light. And I really liked last year's version of this laptop. So I'm excited to see what this year's version is like. Let me go ahead and switch to here. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get this unboxing underway. And also I'm going to make sure that everyone's here. So what's up, everyone? So feel free to ask any questions about the G14. I want this laptop to play Half-Life Alyx. What do you recommend? So if you're looking to play VR, basic VR, it all depends on what resolution your headset is, because there are some headsets that you would not be able to play VR very well with on this machine and other headsets that would. So it's just going to vary. VidFinX, this is a Max-Q GPU. I believe in the video description down below, I have the specs. So it's on the Ryzen 9 5900HS, Asus claims it's a 35 to 80 watt, and the RTX 3060 is a 60 to 85 watt. So with dynamic boost, you can get up to 85 watts of GPU performance on this machine. We're gonna have to find out if that is accurate or not. Ooh, I took my scissors apart there. There we go. I think it probably will be at least close, but we'll have to see in realistic loads what kind of performance we can actually get out of it. Mark mode, they already shipped. Yeah, this is the first Zephyrus G14 I've ever seen a reviewer have out on the market. I've not seen any official reviews of this yet. Anyway, so there it is. And wow, this is one of the prettiest laptops. Plus I love the moonlight white coloring and the silver bottom. And it's just so small, you know? I love this design. I actually almost switched out for the Zephyrus G14 last year because I was like, all the games I play, this thing can play it really, really well. Okay, I really want to just open this thing up, but let's see what else is in the box first. All right. First things first. Oh, also notice this thing pops up. So you get the little laptop stand on this box. You don't with some of the other ones. It just depends. All right. And this is a there's a 180 watt power brick. Where's the power cable? Is it in this side? Please make a video of every single detail. I'm highly interested in this laptop and model from Best Buy. Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do. So if you don't want to miss out, I am gonna make a live unboxing, which we're doing right now. I'm going to do a live benchmarking. I'm going to game benchmark 15 different game benchmarks on the display. And then I'm also going to do, so that'll be a live thing. And then I'll compile all my data and information and post a separate video for a detailed review on the Zephyrus G14 eventually. So it's just, I've just got a lot of laptops to do. So it's going to take a little while. All right. Gizmo, help. My laptop does not go to sleep when plugged in. The screen goes black only. Why is that? I am not sure, Ellie. I've noticed that my SCAR 15 sometimes doesn't want to stay asleep. Like I'll set it to go to sleep, and then sometimes it'll kick back on. I think it's probably because of some software I've installed though, so that's why I didn't include that in the review. So it may, I think I probably just need to troubleshoot that. I'd say the Zephyrus G14 is better. Yes, G15 is more performance for sure. But the thing is, the G14 is like another tier lighter and more portable. So not everyone wants a 15-inch laptop. I think a perfect example of where the Zephyrus G14 is going to be better than a G15 is, say you travel on airplanes a lot and you need to use the laptop in your lap on the plane. A 14-inch chassis is just going to fit much better in that narrow space. So, yeah. Okay, well, let's see what else is in the box. Do we have anything else in here? Doesn't look like it. I don't think there's anything in there. Anything in here? Yes. Okay, so probably just have our warranty cards in here. Okay. So we got a little intro. Charge your notebook. Lift open the display panel. Press the power button. Okay. I think this is your congrats on warranty, encouraging you to register the warranty. And then if you leave a review, apparently you get a little reward. And then here's your warranty card right here. So it should come with a 1-year warranty, as far as I know. Hello, I really want to know when the Strix G17 will be back in stock. Any news? Thanks. So as far as I know, the Strix G17 is just as bottlenecked as everything else on the market right now. And all of these products that have really high demands, it's just really hard to get them in stock. So your best bet to buying a Strix G17 is either to get in the line by ordering off one of these websites, and this is going to be true for almost all these laptops, either order off of one of these third-party sites, like, I know BH Photo allows you to order and get in line, basically, and then you'll be guaranteed to get one, but it might take 2 or 3 months for them to actually ship it to you, or maybe even longer in some cases. And then the other option is you just watch all of the stores like a hawk. You watch Best Buy, you'll watch Newegg, you'll watch the Asus store, because those stores, they only list them for sale when they're actually in stock and they're shipping in a few days. And you have to, when they come in stock, you have to buy them immediately. Otherwise, they go back out of stock again within 10 minutes of coming into stock, because people are just watching it like a hawk. And then, let's say they have a stock of 100 being added and sold, and then that's it, and then they're out of stock again until they get another batch. Okay. So those are basically your 2 options. Either you're willing to compete with everyone, or you're willing to get in line and just get the order in. But I don't anticipate that the shortage of computer parts and laptop parts are going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, maybe not even through the end of 2021. I'm very curious to see the generational increase from the G14 with the 4900HS and 2060 Max-Q. Yeah, I will be doing a detailed comparison versus last generation's hardware in my review, because I have all the benchmarks still from the G14. So I'll be able to do a direct comparison. There it is. Look at that beauty. Oh, it's a beautiful thing right there. I love the design when you hold it in your hands and you just look at all these angles and lines. It just looks super good, in my opinion. And this should have, yeah. So this thing does have the prismatic display as well, or prismatic film under here. You just got to catch the light from the right angle, and you can see it. I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick it up very well, but I can definitely see it with my eyes. But it's a more subtle than you'd expect, But it is there. Very cool. This is kind of a cool holographic touch as well. This thing is very colorful. It's like metal, but shiny purpley pinky color. Interesting. Blue, pink, purple, blue type of Yeah. Okay. So this does have the ergo lift hinge as well. So notice how I put it down. It lifts this chassis up. So we get additional airflow under the laptop right here. That'll help with our temperatures. And that's actually going to be an important factor for the temperatures on this laptop, without a doubt. All right. Do you recommend the Gigabyte G5? Marlon, I haven't spent enough time to get my detailed review done of that one yet. But my initial impressions were very positive for the Gigabyte G5. I'm not anticipating that I'll change my opinion on it as I spend more time with it, but I've just got to do a lot more tests, before I can like definitively say, oh yeah, this laptop's amazing, or, you know. So, but just know that my preliminary opinion was very positive of the Gigabyte G5. What do you think about the Alienware M17R4, the 4K screen with 60 hertz? I wouldn't recommend it. Simply because if you really want a 4K screen and you're a gamer, then I recommend going with something like the Razer Blade Pro or the Zephyrus Duo 15, because those are 4K 120 hertz displays, and you'll be able to play games so much better. So, like, it's a much better balance, I think. Thoughts on this laptop? ROG Scar 3, G731, 240 hertz, i9 988H 2070. I mean, I think Sweetie Nix, I think that's going to be a good laptop. So, going to be able to play lots of games really, really well. I don't think it'll be a problem at all. Behava Gadar, can we get a screen quality comparison between the different ROG 2021 laptops? Oh, these speakers are loud. Oh yeah, those are some loud speakers for Katana. So if you want to know the specific specs of those three laptops, the Strix Scar 15, Strix G17, and Zephyrus G15, and then eventually this G14 as well, there is, if you go to my channel, you can check out each of my reviews, and there's a section that I talk about the laptop display in detail. I talk about the nits brightness, the contrast, the color gamut, and you can use that to compare and contrast, because I use the exact same tool for each one of those, for each test. Man, this is such a great design. Now, the touchpad maybe is a little small for people that really like a large touchpad, like the Zephyrus G15 has a really large touchpad, but I really like the touchpad and keyboard on this machine. It's one of the best for thin and lights. Okay, let me go ahead and get this camera repositioned so you guys can see everything a bit better. And then also get logged in as well. Oh, wait. Should we take the bottom off before we do all this? Let's at least get signed into Windows first. Okay. What do you think about the G5 with the Ryzen 7 5800H compared to the Ryzen 9? I'm thinking, like, in terms of the Ryzen 7 versus Ryzen 9 question, I get that a lot. Those processors are very, very similar in performance. Not a huge difference. If they have the same TDP, it's likely only a like a 5% performance difference. So, yeah, it looks blurry on purpose because I was typing a password in. Love your opinion on the Aorus 15G with the 10870H 3070 or Zephyrus G15 with 900. So N Hannon 9, I've got the Aorus 15G and I've did the review on the Zephyrus G15. My opinion on it is the Aorus 15G will give you better CPU bound game performance because it has a mux switch allowing you to go to dedicated GPU mode. Or the Zephyrus G15 does not, but the Zephyrus G15 has the advantage because it has a Ryzen processor. So there's kind of trade-offs between the two depending on which one you like more or less. But between those two, I think the bigger advantage goes to the Aorus 15G when you upgrade it for $200 more and you get the RTX 3080 version, because that's when it's like awesome. It's like an even bigger difference, you know? So just gonna Type my password in. What's the laptop I'm streaming on called? I'm using the SCAR15 to stream on. That's the laptop I personally use. I really want to know if the color accuracy and brightness are better on this model compared to the 2020 model. It appears to be brighter and better color to me just initially. Like I can tell the blue is deeper, but it's I need to actually test it with my Spider 5 Elite to know for sure, but I would assume we're going to have better, like the 2020 model, you know, there wasn't very many 14-inch gaming displays on the market back then. And so it ended up being kind of like, well, this is the best display we could possibly put in the G14 last year. The display was honestly one of the weakest aspect of the laptop, probably. And hopefully this year it's not. You know, like last year's model had a fair bit of ghosting. Hopefully this year's model does not have any ghosting. That's my hope, at least. So, okay, so there's that. All right. So we've got fingerprint sign-in. Here we go. So this allows us to use Windows Hello to log in quickly into the laptop. So this is going to be really useful for people that are, you know, you want to be able to quickly log into your laptop. And this should also cache the fingerprint so that you don't have to type in your password. You just press the power button once when you turn the laptop on, I believe. At least if this works the same way as the Zephyrus G15, you should be able to just press it once and then you're good to go. So let's just get this laptop position just right. Cool. 2020 versus 2021 model of the G14, which is better? Is the 330 series worth it? Saya, I've got to do more testing, right? This is my first time getting this thing out. And I will be doing detailed comparisons, right? Versus in my benchmarks. And we'll be able to see how much of a performance difference it is and whether the 2021 model is worth the additional cost or not. I'm thinking it definitely will be worth the upgraded cost for RTX and DLSS enabled games like Cyberpunk 2077. And that'll also help make the laptop more future-proof. And then I'm anticipating we'll also have a lot better display on the 2021 model. Those are my initial thoughts on the matter, at least. I don't know. I hope that's helpful. I'm in the UK. Which laptop would you recommend with a budget of £1,300, $1,800 US? Yeah, I'd probably go Aorus 15G is probably my top recommendation for pure gaming. If you want a better blend of or 15P if you have that option in your market. We don't have the 15P in the US. But that would be a great option. You also have the you also have the HP Omen 15Z. Should be a really great option around that price point. That's going to come out soon-ish. Fingers crossed, right? Like I've already got one coming to me in the mail, so GPU wattage on this one, it should be a 60 to 85 watt, which considering how thin and light, the fact this thing only weighs 3.5 pounds or something like that, that should be really good. Best gaming performance for $1,200, probably the Gigabyte G5 for $1,099 because you get a 240 hertz display with a higher wattage RTX 3060. I looked out yesterday, I got on your spreadsheet, clicked on the BH photo link for the SCAR15 3080, and it was in stock, and you snagged it. Oh, dude, nice, Shelby. Congrats. That's gonna be an awesome laptop. Yeah, I do check that spreadsheet regularly. Oh, wait, did we get a super chat? Did I miss a super chat, y'all? Shelby Peterson with the $10 super chat. Oh, dude, thanks so much for the super chat. I didn't see it the first time. Yeah, dude. I hope that Strix Scar 15 turns out to be everything you hope it is. I've really enjoyed my Scar 15. The only issue I've had with it is my left side creaks a little bit at times, and I think that it's an issue caused by me most likely when I was taking the laptop apart, and I've got to just figure out which thing I loosened up. And so, just if you take the laptop apart, be careful not to stress the chassis. Um, so I've got a light behind me that's on. So let me. I had a light that was on behind me, so that's probably why the laptop display looked a little funky there. Okay, Johnny Boy with the $10. Thank you for all the laptop guidance, Gizmo. Following you since late 2020, I've tried 7 different laptops from MSI and Asus. With your help, I decided on keeping the 165 hertz Scar 15 with 3080. No regrets. Yeah, man, I think that's that's close to the top laptop that money can buy right now, at least. Uh, Especially in a 15-inch chassis. Would you say that this is a better option than the Asus ROG M15 with 2070 Max Q? Yeah, Josh, I would say this is a lot better than the ROG M15 with 2070 Max Q. In certain games, you might get slightly more performance with 2070, or maybe not. Probably not, honestly. You're probably going to get just straight better performance than this, but it's hard to say because that's a slightly higher wattage GPU and a 15-inch chassis, and this is going to be, you know, this is going to be a smaller, thinner, lighter, more portable package. Now, the nice thing about this laptop right now is that it's in stock, and it's been in stock for a little while now, right? Um, so if you're like struggling to find a laptop that's in stock right now, this is one where you're at least going to have it be in stock. You're going to be able to get it from a reliable retailer, and it's going to have a generous return policy. So in my mind, I'm like, it's hard for me not to recommend this because if you don't like it, you can just return it with no cost. Because Best Buy is such a good place to return items to, at least if you're in the United States. Obviously, if you're international, it's no good. But like, if I could buy Best Buy is my number one recommended place to buy from. But that's where I spend the most money myself when I buy electronics because of if you get the Elite Plus membership, it's a 45-day return policy with no restocking fee except maybe except on certain items. So and then they offer a really good extended warranty as well, so you can get accidental protection. And I've got accidental protection on this camera, and I actually knocked my camera over yesterday, and some of the cables were plugged in, and it bent some stuff, so I might have to get it repaired. But it'll be free because there's no deductibles on there. Like a lot of extended warranty stuff, you have to pay $50 or $100 deductibles, and with the Best Buy ones, you pay everything up front, and then you're good. So you don't have to worry about it. Oh, I'm debating. Okay. Should we go ahead and take this sucker apart right now? We should. Let's go ahead and shut it down and take the underside off this puppy. Gizmo, I need your thoughts on the Alienware M17R4. Best value right now, laptop, despite the cost. I wouldn't say it's the best value, but you're looking at maybe the highest performance. So there's a difference between value and performance. I think those are two different categories. If that makes sense. Okay. I think we're going to scoot this back just a little bit. Right about there. You have 1,000 pounds. What laptop do you recommend? It all depends on what you're looking for. I think you have to decide. Like the biggest decision right now with laptops is: are you a thin and light person, or are you a maximum performance person? Because if you're a thin and light type of person that just really wants a premium thin and light experience, then something like the G14 is awesome. The Zephyrus G15 also awesome. But if you're trying to get like the most performance because you want the laptop to last you like like a ton of years, you know, like your goal is to keep the laptop for just like 8 years and be able to use it for games as long as possible, you know, then you're probably going to want to get a thicker laptop that'll have more performance because it'll be able to play games for longer. But that's where the variance is just, it just varies so much from what each user wants and needs. Like if you know you're probably going to upgrade it and change your laptop again in 2 or 3 years, getting a thinner, lighter machine maybe is better. Or maybe if you already have a desktop, then having a thin, light laptop plus a really high-powered desktop is the way to go. That's kind of the way I'm going right now. I've got the Scar15. That's to me the right blend of performance and portability. And then I also have a desktop. I managed to snag an RTX 3090 desktop off of Facebook Marketplace used for $4,000. So I could not get one brand new in stock, so that's what I had to do. But I really needed it. I really needed an RTX 3090 to be able to maximize the Pimax VR headset I bought. So I see a comment, RTX 3060 stomps, RTX 2070. Yes, that is true in certain titles, but it will vary a lot from laptop to laptop, because if you get a really thick RTX 2070, you might be able to beat an RTX 3060 that is in this thin and light of a profile, just because of the TDP differences and how much power the GPU can get access to. Also, what's the RAM? What game are you playing? Is it CPU bound? Is it GPU bound? Because you really can't compare GPU performance in CPU bound games. Like I see so many reviewers being like, well, the RTX 3070 is a lot slower than the RTX 2070. Why? Like, how is the performance so bad? I'm just like, it's a CPU bound game. That's why. You can't expect the performance to be better. Like when you're comparing maybe a laptop with a mux switch versus a laptop with no mux switch. Oh, I should switch the angle here. Okay, so you can see we take this apart. Okay, so this might be a little tricky. Let me see what the camera looks like. Okay. Hey Gizmo, will the 3060 G15 be a good replacement for the PlayStation 5? I'm talking 1080p gaming, of course. Probably. I think the RTX 3060 is actually going to be a really good bang for the buck overall system. So when you're taking this apart, what you want to do, let's see the focus. Okay, so this is a pop-up screw. This is going to separate the chassis right here for you to get the initial pop to happen. And then you want to take a tool like this, and I've got a link to the tools I use for opening laptops up in the video description down below. It's the kind of thing you don't want to skimp on, I don't think, because you want a good tool so you don't damage your laptops. And then you just take this across the edge here, just like that, and it basically just pops it open for you. So it's really nice that Asus has included this pop-up screw on all their laptops this year, pretty much. You just want to do this screw last, so you don't end up like bending it, because if these screws are all in and then you're doing the pop-up screw when these screws aren't out already, I think that's why I ended up with a creak in my chassis on the Scar15, or at least that's related to it potentially. So you just do the same thing all the way down. And we're pretty much loose enough, but there's a couple more. Still got to pop out a couple more here. And there we go. Okay. All right. So the bottom is loose now. Let's see. Oh, and I got to make sure I do it in the right orientation so all the screws match up to the screw holes. There we go. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. All right, so right here we have a 76 watt hour. Ooh, we got to tilt this camera down a little bit. And we got to get it in focus. Voila. Okay. There we go. I'm interested to see what the Lenovo comes out with for the new Legion 5 Pro and Legion 7. I do like the Asus laptops, though. Yeah, me too. I really want to see how the new Lenovo laptops stack up. So here we have our 1 TB SSD. Looks like it's trying to read the brand, but it's like upside down. It's an SKHYNIX, Hynix. Okay, so it's a PCIe SSD, 76 watt hour battery. We've got, I believe, there's multiple speakers in this laptop. I'm not sure exactly how many. Okay, now we've got 2 fans. Voila. We've got 3. Interesting. Look at this. So we've got 3 main heat pipes going through the middle for our thermal design, but we also have additional plating on the VRMs going around here, and we have a 4th heat pipe that goes along all of these voltage regulation modules up here as well. These are going to help keep the temperatures down and also allow it to boost the TDP a little bit higher. And we have 4 fan outs. So 1, 2, 3, 4 fan outs. That's really good for a laptop that is this thin and light. Like this is I think a really amazing chassis design overall for our heat pipes. Now we do have our memory here. I'm not going to take it out right now because I haven't unplugged the battery. So if you want to unplug the battery, you just push this back, pull this guy back a little bit, just like that, and then you'll want to lift off the battery connection, right like that. That's how you remove the battery. And then right here, see, it looks like we're getting out of focus a little bit. So right here, you'll just want to kind of push down the RAM just a little bit and then push to the sides to get the memory to pop up. And there we go. So you can see we have single-sided memory on here, which means we're probably going to get a little bit lower performance in memory-sensitive games. But we also have, I believe, the other memory. Yeah, this is single rank memory too. So let me just pull it up here so you guys can see it up close. So it says 1. Okay, come on. Right here it says 1 RX X16, 8 gigs. So we do have dual channel memory in this. 16 gigs, 8 gigs are soldered to the board though. So if you really need dual channel memory, then you'll need to go with a different chassis. Okay. If you need dual channel memory and you need more than 16, I mean. Sorry. Okay, so when you're putting the battery back together, you just put this white thing back down, and then you use your pry tool. And again, don't use any metal down here because it'll potentially damage stuff short of the board. Using plastic tools are the way to go. What's single rank mean? So it's how the chip. I'm not a memory expert. I'm gonna tell you that up front right now. But my understanding of single rank is that it's how the module is organized on the DIMM, and basically dual rank means that you can more efficiently access the memory. Now, most single rank memory is, and this is single rank, most single rank memory is going to be slower than dual rank memory. And most dual rank memory also has memory on both sides of the memory module. So that's why I kind of pulled that up and checked that just now, because I was curious to see if it was a double-sided memory module or not. Anyway, so there's our speakers, left and right, battery, SSD, and this is going to be upgradable. So if you need to upgrade that, you can put that up to 8 terabytes. Those cost about $1,300. And then repasting this machine would require taking all of these heat sinks off and a bunch of extra screws right there. So there's the underside of the laptop. Let's go ahead and put it back together and get our BIOS updated and drivers updated, and then we're going to be able to run some tests on it. I'm looking for a subtle laptop capable of really good gaming and taking to work. Budget $1,500. What's my recommendation? Came across this, but need more options. Any other recommendations? So if you're looking for it all depends on the size. Are you looking for a 14-inch chassis? If you're looking for a 14-inch chassis, then this is pretty great. So just putting this back together is very simple. You just line everything up, make sure everything is snapped in, okay? And then I recommend screwing in your pop-up screw first. I think that should be the first screw that you screw in, because this will lock everything down and pop everything together better. Okay, so everything is popped together. Now we can start putting our screws back in the laptop. Dual rank used to only have a small performance advantage, but because of how severely Optimus bottlenecks CPUs, reducing the bottleneck with fast RAM has become more important in laptops. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, but also I think you're going to see a performance difference even when you bypass Optimus as well. So don't just assume that it's only because of Optimus, because I did a bunch of benchmarks, and I guess I haven't tried doing as many. I haven't tried testing it with a non-Optimus related system yet, but I'm pretty sure you would still see performance gains even in a system without Optimus. But maybe you see a little more performance gains in the system with Optimus. That'd be a good theory to test out. I think this one goes here. What's your preferred gaming desktop PC brands? I'm not an expert desktop reviewer. That's definitely not my strength. You know, like I'm working on improving that, watching and learning more. But if I had my preferred, I'd probably go Aorus or Asus. Like I've built probably 6 desktops on my own, but I still wouldn't consider myself an expert. Like I don't review desktop equipment full time, you know, or test it full time. My passion is laptops, and specialty is laptops. Okay, there's the screw. I knocked one of these screws off the table. All right. What laptop GPU at what wattage will be a good replacement for a PlayStation 5? Ellie, I'm not sure exactly how strong the PlayStation 5 is, but I mean, I would recommend probably going for a high wattage RTX 3060 or better if you're just trying to maximize gaming performance. Nerdy, you got an Asus laptop? Or an Asus setup? Oh, in your desktop. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Man, that is a pretty machine right there, isn't it? Like, if you're looking for I think this is the classiest looking laptop that Asus has in their market, or in their lineup. I mean, not the coolest. I think the Scar series is cooler, but classy. Okay, so I press the power button. Let's see if that logs us into Windows here. It did not. Real quick, before we go further, let's go ahead and do a flex test on the chassis here. Okay, so going around the laptop, starting on the right side, extremely solid. Extremely solid for the corner. A little bit of bend in the middle, not bad at all. Very solid all around. Okay, some bend here. Not a big deal though, nothing you'd notice really. Going into the middle, again, some more bend. Not a big deal. Going into the keyboard here. Some flex. Again, not a big deal. I think this is a very, very solid chassis build. Most people will be extremely happy with that. Look at how beautiful this thing is. Okay, let's see what the keyboard backlight. The keyboard backlight's not turning. I probably have to log into Windows, I guess, first. Okay, let's see if we can do the fingerprint sensor. Does it work? Works. Boom. Okay. Interesting. I don't think the keyboard backlight's coming on, even though it says it's on. It was on during the initial Windows setup, but in general, I would recommend keeping the keyboard backlight off of this laptop. Okay, so we're coming in here. We're going to get this thing situated and set up again. And I got to kind of raise this up a little bit and aim it down at the laptop so we can have the Ergo Lift chassis for the display. Cool. Okay, so no webcam on this laptop. So something to keep in mind. So I don't, Archer, I don't think the backlight was coming on. I'm guessing we have to do our updates. We haven't done any of our updates yet, so let's go ahead and get Windows Update started. And then we also need to, I need to put my toolkit away here as well. Let's go ahead and get Windows Update officially going. Okay, and so that's going. Now this is the toolkit right here that I use to take laptops apart. This will also work really well for just about any electronic gadget because you can see right here it has all of the different types of heads. And this is a nice screwdriver because it's magnetic and it's got a spin to it. So it allows you to easily take things apart. And then because it's magnetized, it'll also allow you to pull the screws out of the chassis without having to like fish for them very much, which I really like. So this is linked in the description down below if you want to check it out. And that does go to help support my channel, but it's definitely a product I recommend getting for just about any laptop enthusiast, you know, or tech enthusiast in general, because you'll need it to fix all kinds of tech. Looks like it's in the middle of installing. Malicious software repair tool. So we're installing the Windows updates. So Stephen Artistry with the $2 super chat. MSI GS66, i7, 2070 Max Q, or ROG G14 R9 3060. If it was my money, I would go G14 for sure. And the reason for that is because we have the new Ryzen 9 5900HS in this machine. So you're going to get much better CPU performance. That said, the GS66 should have a mux switch in it. So you're going to get some better GPU-bound game performance in those GPU-bound specific titles. But we should be close to maxing the 144 hertz refresh rate in all of the CPU-bound, well, not all of them, but in a lot of CPU-bound games, you're going to hit the maximum refresh rate anyway on this machine as it is. So, at least in theory, we haven't tested that, but I'm pretty sure you would, because we're only hitting 140. We're only going for 144 hertz 1080p, which should not be too hard for this laptop to do. So, at least in all the esports titles. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and get our benchmark utilities copied over. Okay. Stupid question. How often should I update Windows on my gaming laptop? So Ellie, Windows has been really bad lately about forcing their updates. So most likely it's installing all the updates that you need with or without your consent, which really sucks, I think. It kind of annoys the crap out of me because I'm like, I did not want you to restart last night and you deleted all my files, Windows. Or like if I'm working on a project, like I type up my reviews and then it restarts and then it didn't save or something. It drives me crazy. Okay. Dash F15, I saw it, Dash F15 3060 versus Omen 2060. Okay, so which Omen 2060? Is that the Intel one? I would think, so I'm assuming you're talking about the Intel one. If you're talking about the Intel one, then that's a tough call. I'd probably go with the Dash F15, but if it was my money, I'd probably go for the Omen 15Z, which is not currently available. I'd wait a little bit longer. Because they opened up the Omen 15Z for order for a couple weeks there, and then they stopped. and so it's not currently available to order right now, but it will become available to order soon-ish. But maybe the better question to throw in that mix, Christophias, is the Gigabyte G5 is arguably the one to get if you're in the $1,100 price point, or at least that's the one I'm currently leaning towards recommending the most. And the reason for that is because it comes with a much better screen, 240 hertz, 100% sRGB display, or at least close to 100% sRGB display. That'll enhance your gaming experience tremendously in the budget category. And your esports potential is also much better because of that 240 hertz display, and the response rate on the display is better as well, so less ghosting and all of that. And then you also have a 6-core CPU with that one, and a higher wattage RTX 3060 that can go all the way up to 105 watts. So I did a unboxing for the Gigabyte G5. So if you want to watch that whole thing after this live stream is done, feel free to go check that out. But if you're in like the more budget-oriented category, I would say that $1,100 G5 is at least on paper, and in my initial review, the better performance bang for the buck. But the Asus TUF-F15 is still really attractive for people looking for a more premium type experience, because the Asus TUF-F15 is much thinner, and I don't know if it's much lighter, but it's much thinner and much more premium feeling machine than the Gigabyte G5. So there's like trade-offs there. You get more performance with the Gigabyte G5, but a more premium experience with the TUF-F15. The other one to consider would be the MSI GF65, but it doesn't come with 16 gigs of RAM, which is kind of like, for the same price, you're basically gimping yourself, which I don't like, and that's the reason why I don't really recommend that one as highly. Though it certainly is still an option to consider. Though I also have not seen that available in stock, basically anywhere either. So for some reason, MSI basically released it and then didn't release it, because I had also ordered one on pre-order and then it got canceled for some reason, and so I don't even know what's going on with that. If you're looking for the technical specs of this, you can check it out. What is the lightest? You can check it out. Sorry, you'll have to Google it because I don't have it right in front of me. What is the lightest laptop with a mux switch? No budget, so unlimited budget. The lightest laptop with a mux switch is probably going to be the Aorus 15G or the GS66, maybe the Omen 15T. It'd be between those three. I think those are the three lightest with a mux. Oh, no, the lightest one may be the Electronics like Max 15. I think that one weighs around 4 pounds or so. Maybe a little under 4 pounds, actually. So that one should have a mux as well. So that would be another one to consider in that mix. Orihan Weedle, watching from Jamaica. Awesome. Would you get the Legion 5 2020 with a 4800H? No, unless you get a really great price on it, just because that the 4800H is not a superb gaming processor. It's all right. But I would say that's a good one to wait on the next iteration of, because you'll see some performance gains almost for sure. Let me go ahead and start copying Cyberpunk over to the hard drive so that we can get that installed for our test game. Because I know that you guys probably really want to see Cyberpunk run on this sucker, right? And if I get this going sooner than later on the copy, then it'll be a lot better. Okay. Ta-da! Yeah, I typed it correctly. All right. So for testing today, I want to do, for initial testing, I want to run Cyberpunk, and then Cinebench R23, and then Time Spy is coming up still. On 4 p.m. Boom. All right. Next year or two, new gen CPUs with DDR5 will release, and we'll be regretting buying this thing. Dude, technology is always advancing, and then a year after that, there'll be the next thing. So what can you do? I think now is still a great time to buy, because we do have the new Ryzen 5000 series that came out, and the RTX 3000 series came out. So if you're buying at least Ryzen for right now, it's a great time to buy, because it's like a big upgrade in a lot of ways. Like thermally speaking, The Ryzen 5 is great. And it's like the synthetic tests and like all of the traditional CPU things you do with the Ryzen processor is fantastic. It's got still really, really good gaming performance, just as good as Intel this year, like neck and neck. And so you just get like all of these great benefits from buying, at least compared to last year. We're hitting like a double bump up. I see someone talking to Owner Disown. Steven, are you here? I didn't see you in chat. What's up? What's up, Steven? I got a GS66 Stealth with an i7 2070 Max Q a few days ago. Should I return and pick this up instead? They're both $1,500. Steven Artistry, if it was my money, I probably would go with this instead, but I don't know. That's also a pretty good system too. So if you like that GS66 Stealth, I think that's still a very viable system. What do you think about the Acer Predator Triton SE? I believe it's going to be a decent machine. Let me see. I think I linked to it. Are you talking about? Should be able to show you this guy. So Acer Predator Helios Triton. So right here, I would get the Zephyrus G14 over this thing for sure. It's a very, very similar machine. But so it costs $100 less, but you only get a 4-core processor in the Triton for roughly the same price, and you also get 500 gigs less on the SSD. So that's not that, like, it's, you just get more bang for the buck with the Zephyrus G14 and the better processor, I think. So that's kind of my initial impressions on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our restart going. Well, we're waiting for Cyberpunk to download. All right, and so while we're waiting for Cyberpunk to download, let's get 3D Mark installed. And we could probably install a couple other utilities, get our Afterburner configured as well. Boom, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I don't understand why they put 500 gig SSDs in gaming laptops. Well, not everyone needs as much space. And they're trying to get the price as low and as competitive as possible. And that's the reason why, because they know they're going to have to charge $50 more for a 1 terabyte. That said, most gaming laptops this year are coming with a 1 terabyte, which is nice. I can barely install all of my benchmark games, my 15 game benchmarks that I run. I need like 950 gigs of space. That's how much I put on every single laptop I test. And so the laptops that only come with 500 gigs, I'm like, what do I do? I think I have to install like half the games and then uninstall those games and install the second half of the games in order to get all the benchmarks done. How does the G14 compare to last year's? Any changes to the chassis? The chassis appears to be identical, owner to own. I think like the keyboard looks very similar. The touchpad appears to be very similar. The display is a noticeable upgrade, I believe, because this is Pantone certified now. We got 100% sRGB and it's 144 hertz. Last year's model had pretty bad ghosting issues because of a slower response rate. This one should be a lot better on the display. And then, of course, we have the new Ryzen 9 5900HS in this model, so I'm hoping to get maybe a little bit better battery life compared to the 2020 model. And then, of course, we have the RTX 3060 in this model. And because of now we have dynamic boost as well, I'm expecting we're going to get a noticeable bump up in performance. And part of that is because of that dynamic boost in things like Time Spy or in very GPU-bound games like Red Dead Redemption. Hopefully the CPU is not going to draw very much wattage, and we're going to get that extra boost in performance. Same thing in Cyberpunk 2077 as well. Yeah, so I mean, I think we're getting a notable improvements, but arguably the biggest flaw from last year's chassis was the display, I think, and hopefully this model at least fixes that problem. Because if it fixes that problem, that's going to make this laptop way easier to recommend. I guess the other The other issue, of course, is this is not going to be able to bypass NVIDIA Optimus, so CPU-bound games are going to struggle a little bit, but we're only pushing 144 hertz on a 1080p display, so you should, I would certainly think we're going to easily be able to push that in the vast majority of games. So I don't anticipate that being a big problem either. Let's see here. We are ready to finish that. We're ready to finish this. Okay. Let's get Heaven benchmark installed. Will you show the ghosting in this stream? Well, I can try out Valorant, and I can like that's the game I play because you basically can guarantee, I can guarantee I'll be able to pull up the, hit the 144 hertz refresh rate in Valorant, and then be able to move around and be able to see visually if we're seeing much ghosting at all, and see the response rate. Alligator XX3 is the G14 capable of RAID? No, we only have one PCIe SSD slot in there, so you're not going to be able to do any dual RAID action. If you need RAID hard drives, I'd recommend going with the Zephyrus G14 because that one does have dual PCIe SSD support. Do you think the Acer Nitro 5 is a good buy? 8 gigs of RAM, GTX 1650 Ti, 144 hertz display. Rain Weedle, so I would say at those pricing and specs, that would only be a great buy at around $600 or less. Because I've seen RTX 2060s for $800. So you're going to want to make sure that you're getting, yeah. The downside of the Nitro 5 is the 8 gigs of RAM. It's just not enough for a lot of things. A lot of modern games just need more, and things you do in Windows need more, like if you have a bunch of browser tabs open. And then the other issue with that is the 144 hertz display is going to have some ghosting. Like mine had ghosting. You can check out my Acer Nitro 5. I think I actually reviewed that exact model, Orain Weedle. So look at my video history. I did a detailed review on that specific model. But right now, I'd just only recommend buying that if you can find it on sale. Did I get Handbrake installed? I don't think so. Also, we need to get Afterburner going. Huzzah, huzzah. Let's get TimeSpy. Get everything installing here. Handbrake's installed now. We're still copying Cyberpunk. And of course, because we have a really fast PCIe SSD, we can do all of these things at once without hindering performance much. Let's see here. I hear the response time is 5 ms. Nice. If this has a 5 ms response time display, that's giant thumb up for this chassis at least. When am I going to review the TUF laptops? So are you talking about the TUF A15 and A17? I currently don't have that on my production schedule at all, Lil Samsil. I don't have it coming in or anything. Okay, I just got the G14 4900 2060 Max Q for $1,000. Should I return? That's a good deal because that's usually more like 1,100, 1,200 Chris Hook. So if you're getting that for $1,000, I think that's a pretty good deal. So I'd say you could keep it or return it. But for $500 more, you're probably, you might get the performance back out of that for 500, but it's going to be close. Not for the CPU. The CPU will performance upgrades not going to be very big, but for the GPU, only in certain titles you're going to get that performance upgrade. The bigger thing about the difference between that version and this version, I think, is just the display is going to be much better on this version. That's going to be the biggest difference between the two. And then the GPU is just going to be more powerful on this version as well. So get the TimeSpy going. Okay, let's get Afterburner configured. Did I get that sucker? Oh yeah, I gotta remove this. I forgot to do this last time, and I'm gonna remove this, and now I can see the laptop display. Okay, let me go like this. Okay. Yeah, it just looks all whited out because of everything is white on my display. It actually looks much better to my eyes than what the camera is showing right now. Like this display looks really good. I can see a little, I feel like I can see a little bit of ghosting there. Just moving up and down. It's not opening Afterburner for some reason. Come here, Afterburner. I found you. See, I'm clicking on it, getting no Afterburner to open. Might need to go for a restart. Once Cyberpunk is done copying over, we'll be able to do a restart, and also that we got a Windows Update that's done now as well. So we got a lot of things that are installing right now. Okay. How are the idle thermals on your model? I got mine yesterday, and they seem high, but I have no baseline. So Shy Ingleton, I think your idle thermals are primarily going to be determined on like how much stuff you have going on the laptop. Like if you have like a bunch of internet browsers or tabs open, like if 30 browser tabs open, you're applying quite a bit of workload for the laptop to do. That's not really idle, I don't think. If completely idle to me is like nothing open except for maybe like an Office document or two, or something like one or two browser tabs. Like that to me is closer to idle. And as far as temperatures go, let's go ahead and open up Armoury Crate and see what kind of fan profiles we got going on here, what options we have as well. Because I'm curious. So we do have a manual mode. So this is the same as the Strix and Scar series. We have silent, turbo, manual mode. And when you switch between these, at least in all the laptops I've tested so far for 2021, silent mode is basically like the fans are completely off unless you have a really heavy load, and then they turn on a little bit. Balanced mode and turbo mode usually are like this middle tier. Like you get like a good amount of performance with like middle fan noise for performance, and then like a little bit more fan noise for turbo, but a little bit better performance. And then manual mode allows you to increase your CPU power limits. Looks like it can go all the way up to 80 watts according to this. That would be higher than the Zephyrus G14, which would be a little surprising. But in addition, you can also set your fan profile curve. So you can see right here, if you move one of these numbers on the left, it'll move all the ones on the right. So if you want to move this to 100% fan noise, 100% fans, you can just do that. Another option usually is, you can press FN plus F5, and that'll turn on our... Can you turn on max fans? So this is just switching our performance profile. So I guess that doesn't turn on max fans. Okay. Oh yeah, and this is named to balanced instead of performance. Interesting. So silent, balanced, turbo, and manual. Anyway, so let's check out our GPU. Looks like we have a default overclock of 100 megahertz on the GPU and a memory offset overclock of 120. And then this GPU power saver button thing here. So this is designed to power limit your GPU to only 90 FPS. So whatever, it'll just hit the target frame rate of 90 FPS. And I think this one's like 120 FPS or something like that. At least in the Zephyrus G15, this is the way it worked. But basically, you don't want to turn this on at all if you want to maximize your performance. But if you're okay with capping the frame rates, then you can turn this on as well. Okay, sorry. Let me check chat. Do you think the RTX 2070 is still worth it? So Unmoot, I've made a detailed video comparing RTX 2000 versus 3000 laptops. And so if you want to go check that out, it's on my channel, but it basically goes through and explains a way for you to compare the performance of the RTX 2000 versus 3000 laptops. And a good rough way to do it, the way I recommended in the video, is basically you take if you want just like quick and dirty, right? This is not going to give you a definitive examples of like performance in specific games, but quick and dirty, you can take the TimeSpy graphics score and the Cinebench R20 or R23 score, and you can divide those numbers by the price of the machine, the price of the laptop, and get a rough idea of performance for an RTX 2000 or an RTX 3000. And then in that video, I also give you charts of like a bunch of different laptops across the different price points and different laptop models and GPUs and CPUs, so you can compare the results. So there's the fingerprint sensor, and it worked really well again. So 2 out of 2 for the fingerprint sensor so far. Would my Gig G5 run games better if I use a 4K monitor? You're going to get more performance out of the GPU because you won't have NVIDIA Optimus bottlenecking the system. And by the way, I did run the HP Reverb G2 VR headset, which is one of the highest resolution VR headsets. I did run that off of the Gigabyte G5 just to see if it would run well, and it ran really well for the 2 or 3 games I tested with it. I didn't test a bunch of games, but I did some lighter weight titles, and it hit 90 hertz refresh rate with the RTX 3060 for the HP Reverb G2, which was really shocking. Like in Half-Life Alyx, Beat Saber, and Hyper Dash, I think were the 3 games I tested. But yeah. So here, would you recommend a 2070 Super desktop or a 3060 laptop? So Andy Rumari, a 2070 Super desktop is a great GPU. I guess, is that the price point comparison that we're at right now? An RTX 3060 laptop costs as much as a 2070 desktop? I would think a 2070 desktop would cost more, actually, given the GPU shortage. But I'm not sure. I guess it all depends on what deal you're talking. Maybe a used RTX 2070 would be in the right price there. But I am not an expert on just being able to be like, oh yeah, this desktop GPU is equal to that desktop or laptop GPU. But I would think the 2070 desktop part would be a little faster than most RTX 3060s, but it's going to depend on which one you're talking. Like this is a lower wattage 3060. A higher wattage 3060 would probably beat that 2070. A lower wattage 3060 might not beat it. So it's just going to depend on, I think, on which 3060 you're talking about. Okay. This laptop is 1,800 pounds. Well, the HP one with QHD is going to be 1,600 pounds. Or wait for the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim. I'd probably go with the Omen QHD for 1,600 in that situation. That said, if you really like the specs on the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim and the price point of that, you could try waiting. But I think that's going to be I think the Lenovo Legion lineup is going to be extra hard to buy this year. Does this Asus Zephyrus G14 have an Ethernet port? Yeah, I think it did. Or does it not? It might not. I don't think there's anything on the back. Okay, so let's go over the ports then real quick. Well, we're installing Windows updates, so let's talk ports. Windows updates are failing right now pretty hard. Okay. So on the left here, we've got our one of our exhausts. We've got our power adapter, HDMI, USB-C with, this looks like a really fast USB-C looks like, and it has a DisplayPort support. So if you're looking to do high-resolution displays or high-resolution VR gaming, you're probably going to use the USB-C. I need to check in the control panel which ports are hooked up to what. This is probably the integrated. This is probably the NVIDIA. At least that's what Asus has been doing on all the other laptops. We've got a headphone port here that does a mic and headphones together at the same port. Then on the right side, we have another USB-C. Very nice. Does not look like it supports DisplayPort on this one, so this looks like just a data port. So keep that in mind. And then we have 2 USB-As on this side. So on the right side is the USB-As. So we have, I got my wireless mouse right here, and then the external hard drive plugged in right now. So no Ethernet. You're going to need to get an Ethernet dongle if you want to use Ethernet with this. But my recommendation is if you're using Ethernet in general, what you want to do is get a USB-C dock. There's these little dock kits that have, like, for example, like 4 USB-As, an HDMI, a DisplayPort or whatever, like a couple display outs, and then and Ethernet as well, usually, maybe a full-size SD card reader, and it's all in one little compact dongle combo thing. And so if you're going to use this at, like, say, your office, I would recommend just getting one of those, maybe for your office, one for your home, and then all you have to do is plug in one thing and the power adapter when you get home. So that's kind of my recommended method, if you will, of doing docking on a laptop like this. Okay, do you think they will release the black version with the same specs and price as this one? Probably Adam's apple. I don't know. I'm not sure where you can get the like dark gray version of this. YK, the tough dash they reviewed last time. How did you get 144, 150 frames on Valorant? Because I'm stuck at 120, 130 frames. I updated the drivers and everything too. So Sejad, Sethi, I'm not sure. It might be related to what map you're on, because you might get a slightly different FPS in different maps. Also might vary depending on your settings, but I had the settings pretty much turned up to max. You can see what settings I had in Valorant, so I don't know. I can go through it in the video. You might also want to check your power profiles. Maybe you're on a lower power profile. And make sure you're also plugged in. Giz, how did you manage to secure all these laptops without them being sent by manufacturers? So Ayash Kintura, I'll go with that. So this right here is my spreadsheet. I check this twice a day. I have another person that helps me check stock on these too. But I check this entire main this entire main list is checked twice a day. And we update the stock on here. You can see all of these are out of stock pretty much. Most of these are out of stock. All the budget oriented stuff like coming soon, broken link, order out of stock, sold out. Most of these things are out of stock and sold out, but you'll notice that one of the ones that you can order is the Aorus 15G with the RTX 3060, which is that should have a MUX switch in it, so that's going to provide a boost performance versus something like this. I think this is one of the more attractive alternatives to the Zephyrus G14. So if you're in the market and you want to do a lot of esports, more gaming focus, I think the Aorus 15G with the 3060 is a great alternative to this one, same exact price. And then you've got these Zephyrus G14, another one that's in stock. So this right here, you get a 1 terabyte SSD. That's going to be a bit better, but you don't have the 240 hertz display like you do on the Aorus 15G, and also the Aorus 15G should be a bit higher wattage to the GPU, so you're going to get a bit more. The Aorus 15G, I would say, is just a bit more performance oriented than the Zephyrus G14, where the G14 is more premium oriented and is going to be more portable, lighter weight, 14-inch display versus a 15-inch display. So there's quite a few differences right there to consider. Let's try. So we're at 90% installing this cumulative update right here. So let's let Windows finish that. That's kind of what I'm focusing on. I suppose we could also start installing Cyberpunk as well, so we can start discovering the files. Oh, I need to copy the files into the right folder. I wonder why we're missing. I don't know why it's not showing us. Like normally there's like a split window here on the left and right so we can see what's going on the other side. So Cyberpunk 2077, this needs to go into this folder in here. Let's see here. Oh, I'm on the wrong one anyway. Okay, so you guys should be able to see right here. I'm installing. I'm putting Cyberpunk into the Steam apps common folder here, and that's going to allow Steam to automatically detect it, so it doesn't have to download it. Hopefully, creating local game files, discovering existing files for Cyberpunk 2077. Because otherwise, we'd be here for like an hour just downloading Cyberpunk, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I'd be able to hang out with you guys some more. So, okay, let's see here. Anyway, there's a link. I was kind of talking about that, but basically there's a link to that spreadsheet in the description down below. But I think those are some of the top competitors to compare this with. I think another good competitor to compare this laptop with would be the Omen 15Z. The 15Z is going to provide a Ryzen 5000 5800H processor, or you could go with the Ryzen 5 5600H processor as well. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And then the Omen 15Z, you can get that with the QHD display. This one you can also get with the QHD display. but the Omen 15Z is heavier. It's a bit thicker, I believe, than this one. And therefore it's probably going to have slightly higher TDPs, but it's also bigger, right? So I think the main draw to the Zephyrus G14 is just you want something super thin, super light. You want to take it on airplane trips. You want to just haul it everywhere you go. Great battery life, but you can still basically play all of the AAA games at reasonable settings. That's to me what the Zephyrus G14 is. How heavy is the Omen 15Z? I think it was like 4.5-ish pounds. I need to double check, but right now the link to that is not working because HP took it off their store. How will it play Genshin Impact? I have not tried running Genshin Impact on a PC yet. I did play it on my phone a little bit, and it played great on my iPhone. So I'm not sure how well it would play on a laptop. I haven't tried it yet. I imagine it would probably play pretty well, Beaner. I would imagine this thing would play Genshin Impact really well. I don't think the... Let's find out. Let's take a quick look-see at the Genshin Impact performance requirements for you. I'm curious now. Genshin Impact recommended specs. 1060. So yeah, this thing would crush Genshin Impact, I'm pretty sure. You'd be able to probably at least play on medium to high settings. Yeah, this thing could probably do really well on Genshin Impact. I haven't tried it though yet, so that's my initial thought, is that it would probably run really well. Pending restart, download error. So we're just keeping download error for one of them. I'm gonna retry that. I have no idea how I ended up here, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad to have you here, Melissa. I hope to see you around again in another live stream or video. By the way, do you plan on adding a Sims series to your reviews? What do you mean, a Sims series? Did they fix the keyboard lighting? So, Daniel, I don't... like the keyboard lighting is not even turning on right now. Interestingly enough, I wonder if they made it so that the keyboard lighting does not turn on when under, when there's a bright room environment. Because basically, so one downside of this laptop is when the keyboard lighting turns on in a bright room, it basically makes the keys actually a little bit harder to see. Which is not what you normally expect from a backlit, right? And it's because the keyboard lighting is white and it's like silvery whitish keys already, so it kind of makes the text just harder to read. But let me try going in here. Let's see if we can go to our keyboard lighting here. Okay, so there I got it to turn on. So you can see right here, it's under strobing right now, or breathing, so it's gonna come on and off. But you can see how bright it is. See that? It's a bright keyboard, so at night when you actually need it, it's great. So when you actually need it, it's going to be great. And then but you can see how like when I take it away, like the bright lighting on the keyboard doesn't really add to seeing the keys much. It makes it actually a little bit more difficult. And then when I turn off the backlight, it becomes easier to see the keys again. So it's like this really weird thing with this keyboard where if I owned it, I wouldn't really run the keyboard backlight unless I was in a darker environment, and then I would turn it on. So I guess there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I think the keyboard looks awesome in a dark environment. Okay, how come the 4800H performed better than the 5900HX in video rendering in Vegas Pro? I am not sure, Sonic Destiny. I'm not an expert on Vegas Pro. Does Vegas Pro utilize your GPU maybe to help render? Maybe the difference in GPU performance? Maybe a different file? I'm not sure. Or maybe it's different settings. There's a lot of different things. Maybe a driver issue on one of the laptops versus the other. They definitely solved the dim keys problem. That seems bright enough. So in my opinion, they didn't really solve it. It wasn't really like an issue of having dim backlight keys on the laptop. It was more just an issue of design more than anything. Because no matter what you do, I think you're going to have that issue. So I'm going to go and pause Cyberpunk updating for now. Let's go ahead and restart. Restart for Windows updates. Would it be better to disable CPU turbo boost on this model? As most people said, thermals were much better when you disable the turbo boost. So, Phantom Online, if you want to tweak the thermals of the laptop in manual mode, all you have to do is go in there and slide the CPU power limit down to the left a little bit, maybe make it to 40 or 35 watts, and that's going to really reduce the temperature that the CPU puts out as well. Can this laptop run Microsoft Flight Simulator? So Liam, this laptop will definitely be able to run Microsoft Flight Simulator, no problem, but you're probably going to want to turn the settings down because even on the more expensive laptops I have, Microsoft Flight Simulator is just such a CPU demanding game, and then it's just so poorly optimized. So I understand that they're working on optimizing it to run better, and because I think the issue is it only uses like 1 or 2 threads, and it's like you have an 8-core CPU and you're not even using 75-80% of the CPU to do the work. So they need to optimize it to be multi-threaded, and then I think we're going to see just like way better performance in Microsoft Flight Simulator across all of the different hardware out there. Which port should I use for my Gigabyte monitor? Gigabyte G5. I think, Eric, all of the ports were hooked up to the NVIDIA GPU, Eric, if I remember correctly. That's off the top of my head, though. You can check in the NVIDIA control panel. What's the name of the... I think it's under like the physics system settings or something like that. You can see which display outs are set up for... I can check in the Zephyrus G14. What settings do you use for benchmarking Fortnite, Epic or low settings? I use low settings, Ezekiel de Guzman, because that's the settings that I used when I was. Oh, the fingerprint sensor worked again. Worked really well again. So 3 for 3 on fingerprint sensor. So I use low settings for Fortnite because I think a lot of gamers out there really prioritize performance over extra visual fidelity. Plus, I think if you're trying to play to be more competitive, in that game, the higher settings can actually make it harder to see people. So when you set it to low, you can play better. Like you literally will be able to play the game more efficiently. Okay. Did you clear the bloatware you got on the system and how? So I have not checked for bloatware yet. Let's see. See if Asus. I have not had any pop-ups yet. Don't see any Norton antivirus. What else we got in here? I mean, so far I don't see any bloatware yet. You just have Microsoft Office in here, basically. Everything else in here, yeah, no bloatware on my install at all. So you have a few Microsoft apps, and that's it. So that's good. Good job, Asus. You didn't cram a bunch of crap in here that no one needs. So let's get Cyberpunk downloading again, and then let's get Afterburner fully set up. All right. So does closing the lid affect the performance? I don't think so because the exhaust goes just straight outside the chassis then. Like normally you have 2 fan exhausts right here that'll kind of run into the screen and then 2 fan exhausts on the side. And when you close the lid, the fans just don't hit the screen at all and just go right out the back of the laptop. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. So GPU 2 is the one that we'll need. GPU 2, GPU 2, GPU 2. So what I'm doing right now is I'm turning on all the MSI Afterburner overlay settings. And this is going to allow us to see like the CPU clock, how much power limit, what temperature everything is set at, while we're in the games that we're playing. And if you want to do this yourself, you can do it to your laptop. You can just mimic exactly what I'm doing, follow it step by step. I think you can see everything. I do this in every live unboxing I do, so if it's not very clear on this one, you can look at some past examples as well. I think you guys should be able to see it mostly. It's just maybe a little small. Okay. All right. Now we need to get our NVIDIA driver updated. And let's also go into the control panel here. So right here, configure surround physics. This is where you can see which GPUs outs are hooked up. So you can see that our display port right here, this is the display port signal. Our USB-C display port is hooked up to the NVIDIA GPU. So if you're going to hook this up to an external display and you want the most performance, go through the USB-C. I'm not seeing the HDMI port on here, which is interesting. I have problems with the Riva tuner trying to display the FPS. I don't know. How's the display look in person? Display looks really good. Looks pretty colorful, good contrast. It's supposed to be 100% sRGB. Now, under my Asus, this is the firmware driver updating utility. This is where you sign up for your warranty, or register your warranty, if you will. This thing allows you to set your battery to charge to 60%, 80%, or 100%. This will allow your lithium-ion battery to last longer in your laptop. So if you want your laptop battery to survive for 5, 10 plus years, you'll want to set it to at least balanced mode, if not maximum lifespan mode, because lithium-ion batteries are designed to store their power at 50% battery power for the maximum longevity. And if I owned this laptop, I would keep it at the 80% mode most of the time, or maybe even 60% mode if you know you're not going to travel. But if you're going to go traveling regularly or need your battery life regularly, then 80%. And if you're using battery life every single day, then yeah, you can use the 100%. That's not going to affect your battery life as much. Because basically, keeping a lithium-ion battery at 100% usage slowly damages it. And then when you keep your lithium-ion battery at under 20% usage, or under 20% total, that also damages it. So generally speaking, I would recommend just charging it up to 80%, going down to 20%, going back to 80%, going down to 20%, if you want to maximize the life of your laptop. And then anytime you're not traveling, keep it at 60%. And then I think you'll see, like, because laptop batteries are one of the first things that fail on laptops. So, okay, so it looks like we have a BIOS update 403. Let's go ahead and download this. Though I wonder if usually with Windows updates, it just automatically does it. But looks like this time it might not. So, but either way, Asus BIOS updates are really easy. You just have to download it, and then you just click it, and then it restarts the machine. It does everything automatically for you. Most other laptops usually require you to put it on a flash drive, manually boot into the BIOS, select the file, then run it, where the Asus method is just a lot cleaner. So right now we have Cyberpunk at 35%. We could do this BIOS update right now, but let's go ahead and just do the NVIDIA update first. Okay, playing games like Tarkov and Warzone, is it stable enough? Maybe streaming with OBS? How hot does it get before any stutters and stuff like that? So Blackbeard J, I think it's going to be really stable. Like this laptop will be very stable for you in games like Warzone and Tarkov. But it sounds like if you're going to play those games mainly, I would probably recommend the Aorus 15G with the Mux switch instead, if those are the main games you play. Because if you're playing CPU-bound games, you're just going to get extra performance with the same. Even though if it has the exact same TDP and everything, you're just going to get extra performance with that Mux switch. So, and the Aorus 15G with the RTX 3060 costs the same as this one. And plus you get a 240 hertz display with that one, but it is bigger, right? So there's trade-offs. Like this thing weighs like about a pound less or so. So up to you if you think it's worth the weight trade-off. Can you overclock this G14 monitor using CDR? I am not sure, King Dragon Official. Can you comment on the Excel crunching and VMorph? I'm not sure what you mean. I get a notification about performance when I close the lid on my 2020 model. Interesting. So, Savanaugh Cameron, maybe it's because they're sucking in some air through the keyboard. That might be the reason. And I can tell the middle of my computer, like the middle of this G14 is warmer right now, right? The edges are cooler. Yeah, I can tell this chassis is warming up. I mean, I've been running it on, just like I think performance or turbo mode or whatever in Armoury Crate. I know we've been installing stuff, but that's all we've been doing. And I mean, that's going to be the nature of a super thin and light laptop because they have to crunch everything together more tightly. And if you want a less warm chassis, you're going to have to run the fans more, basically. Or get a thicker, larger laptop. Those are your two options. You either run the fans at higher speeds to move more air to keep the laptop cool, or the alternative option is you just get the thicker laptop. I have a 144 hertz monitor. Is it worth it to upgrade to 240 hertz? I'm a competitive player. I think so, as long as the game that you're playing can actually push to 240 hertz with the hardware that you have. Because if you can only play if it can only render around 144 hertz and you upgrade to a 240 hertz and you're not going to see any of the actual benefit, right? So you just want to make sure that the hardware you have matches the screen refresh rate that you're shooting for in the game you want to play. That said, there's probably at least some games that you play that will definitely benefit. So, can you mess with dynamic boost in games, like limit the CPU to 3035 and see what happens? Yes, you can. I don't go to that level of detail in my reviews simply because each game optimization is going to be different. So you're not going to be able to be like, oh yeah, just limit it to 30 watts and you're going to see massive performance across all the games. That's pretty much not going to be the case because each game is either going to be more CPU bound or more GPU bound. And so if you limit the CPU in a CPU bound game, you're going to hurt the performance in that game. So you just want to make sure that when you're optimizing it, you want to optimize it for the title you're playing. So I wouldn't just like set it and forget it. Unless you're going for a generalized setting, like you're like, okay, I want this much thermals with this much fans. That's going to provide a nice balance, and then you can play whatever you want with it. But if you're trying to eke out the most FPS possible, most likely you're going to have to tune that on a game-by-game basis. When will the Strix G series be back in stock in Canada? It's going to take a long time for the stock issues to be alleviated. Everyone wants those laptops. Not everyone, but a lot of people want those laptops. And it's going to be a while before I think our CPU parts shortage, silicon shortage is over. I'm thinking not until, a lot of experts are saying not until 2022, 2023, maybe even. Some people are like, I watched Jay's 2 cents the other day talk about this, and he was explaining he thinks this shortage will last a long time, and we might end up seeing the RTX 3000 series GPUs be the longest NVIDIA goes between upgrading to the next series. Like he said, he thinks the RTX 4000 series may just get pushed out so far into the future because they're not even able to make 3000. Why would they release 4000? I don't know. I don't know if there's any validity to that or not. So I don't think the G15, G14 was ever available in Canada. Best Buy Canada seems couldn't secure any stock. Alvaret, that may be true. I don't know. I imagine there was some retailers in Canada that probably like third-party retailers that had it in stock. I don't know. I just know that stock on almost every laptop is very hard to get, and I think stock on this Zephyrus G14 will also be very hard to get. I mean, this is a great all-around machine if you're looking for something really thin and light. I think, you know, and you're willing to have a chassis that gets warmer. I think that's the other thing. So it's kind of like I would anticipate that this will probably sell out, probably. But I think at the same time, I think there's a bigger demand for thicker laptops, at least a little bit thicker laptops that have higher TDPs than there has been in previous years. And I think that's why this hasn't sold out already. G14 or G15 RTX 3060. So the primary differences between those, so G14, what I got right here, and the G15 is going to be size. G14 is smaller, lighter weight, like noticeably lighter and smaller. So let's say you're getting on an airplane, limited space. G14 is going to be better in that situation. G15 is going to be better in some ways though, because it's going to have a better display, right? You're going to have a QHD display on, I think, all the G15, Asus Zephyrus G15s, all of those have a better display. So it looks like our GeForce driver is done. Let's go ahead and restart it. And then the Zephyrus G15 also has 2 storage slots. So you get 2 M.2s with the G15. What else do you get with the G15? You get a bigger chassis in general. So, and I think you get 2 more speakers in the G15. I think you get 4 in the G14. I think you get 6. Let's just do the BIOS at the same time here. Okay, so we're ready to reinstall. It looks like Cyberpunk finished downloading installing too. Okay, so other differences. Zephyrus G15 has more ports, so you get more ports with the bigger chassis. And of course, I think probably arguably one of the biggest differences is the QHD display that you get standard on the Zephyrus G15 versus you only get the full HD display on the G14. And I think that's gonna matter less, especially on a 14-inch chassis. And you can get a QHD version on the Zephyrus G14 too, but I haven't seen that for sale yet. But I mean, a 14-inch chassis, you don't really need a QHD display, in my personal opinion. It's like not really needed at all. How do you feel about the 13-inch models like the Flow X13? I've pre-ordered the Supernova edition as a workstation laptop. I'm a 3D artist for games. Okay. Pretty sweet, super portable machine for the Flow X13. I don't know how much performance you need, Dan, in terms of GPU. I would think as a 3D artist for games, I would think that it would probably work really well as long as you don't do things that are too demanding for it. But like let's just like comparing time spy scores. Like let's say you get that RTX 3080 with the Flow X13. I think you're getting about 10,000 or 11, maybe 10.5, 11,000 or so with that external GPU. And the CPU performance, I think, is going to be really great in the Flow X13 because when you plug in the external CPU, when you plug in the external dock, the Flow X13 will allow you to shut off the internal GTX 1650 and boost the CPU performance even more. And that is going to be awesome for something so thin and light. And then because you're an artist, you probably want to have the touch screen. Okay. I can type in the password successfully. Yes. Okay. Installer has finished. Complete the installation, restart. Oh, hey, we didn't install all the firmware, right? Why NVIDIA? It should have installed already. Okay. So I think the main advantage for the Flow X13 is the fact that it is a stylus-enabled device, and then you can flip it around, so it's a two-in-one. So if you're really attracted to a two-in-one style device, it's just going to be a nice blend of CPU performance, GPU performance, and all of that all wrapped into one package. And that's probably why you're attracted to it. I think the main downside is just in terms of raw GPU performance, it's not going to compare to a desktop 3080, and you probably already know that, right? So just know that you're getting less GPU performance by a good chunk. A lot, haha. I run the Unreal Engine daily. My workstation in the office has a RTX A6000. Okay. So, yeah. Um, the 80-watt RTX 3060 G15 should be 20 to 30% faster than the 3060 and the G14. I don't know about that much faster, Matt, because this one can boost up to 85 watts, but then the G15 would boost up to 105 watts in the same instance, but it's a 20-watt difference. I don't think it's going to be 20 to 30% faster. It's probably going to be more like 10 to 20% faster would be my guess. Like 10, probably more like 10 to 20% depending on the game. Because TDP differences do not translate directly across the board. Okay, we need to make sure that our BIOS installed. Let me go back and check the VOD. I don't think this went into the BIOS and updated. Let me check what BIOS we're on right now. We're on 401. No, we're on 403. So we're already on 403. I think, unless it installed when I was just talking, because I was deep into the comparison of these laptops. And okay, so 0 updates. So it must have went ahead and updated. Okay, good. So we're on the latest BIOS. I must not have just noticed. And then, all right, so here we are. Let's get Afterburner running. I think we're ready to, we're as ready as we'll be to load into, as ready as we'll be to load into Cyberpunk, I think. At least for now. Oh, well, maybe this GeForce Game Ready driver didn't finish installing, so let's let that finish. The stylus is not in all the regions. Jared did a review in Australia. At least there's no stylus, but it can be purchased separately. Yeah, I think that's true, Yaya Ben. But still, I mean, if you really want to have a Flow X13, and you really want the stylus, you can make it happen, I guess. Will you test the Legion 5 Pro laptop? Yes, I really want to test the Legion series. My Zaho 21. I think it's just that it's not released in the United States, so I can't order one. And getting one shipped internationally is a big problem / hassle. Is there ghosting on the screen? I need to get into a game, Conserve Berg, and then check. There is no webcam on this machine. Arnold, I recommend using your smartphone as your webcam. Okay. For me, the Legion 5 will be the winner again. Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like if you need all of those things, then yeah, maybe the Legion 5 is the way to go for you. Do you know when the Asus Scar laptops release? Matera, they're already released. I think what you're asking is when will they be available again to purchase? And they're going to constantly be coming into stock and then going out of stock as people buy them. Alienware M15R4 full HD gaming laptop, Intel Core i7 long-term laptop. I think you'll probably be pretty happy with that, Christian Wise, as long as you understand how the some of those Alienwares come with NVIDIA Optimus for better battery life, and then some of them have a direct connect to the display from the laptop GPU to the display. That'll improve performance, but you'll have terrible battery life, like only like 2 to 2.5 hours. Can you test the new Eon 17X from Origin PC? Currently, I do not have any plans, but I do have some connections at Origin PC. I just don't have any plans to test it. Like to me, the laptops at Origin PC are not super attractive, so it's not, and they're not popular enough for me to buy because I don't think they would get the views either. Will the Asus Flow X13 with the 5800HS and 1650 be faster in export renders than the G14 with the 4800HS and 2060? Sonic, it's just going to depend on probably what codec you're using, because I think the 5800HS is better in certain codecs than the 4800HS. But the 2060 GPU is much faster. So like, for example, in DaVinci Resolve, I can set it to either render with the AMD CPU or the NVIDIA GPU. So it's going to vary from application to application. It's going to vary a lot, actually, I think. Because also with the Flow X13, you can hook up the external GPU for an RTX 3080. And then if you render it off of that, you're probably going to have faster render times, right, than the RTX 2060. So there's a lot of variabilities there, Sonic. And I think you're also asking about a different application's render speed, and I'm just not an expert on Vegas Pro. Zig, man, it's hard to say your name. Thanks for the $5, man. I really appreciate the support. Your laptop, Google document rules. Keep up the great work. Thanks, man. I appreciate your support, and I hope you find it helpful. This is not not making any progress. Run DLL. Could not be found. I'm guessing we have to just close this. I don't think this is gonna ever run. I think it's stuck. Let's try, can I reopen? Can we restart, please? Okay, it appears we might need to do a manual download on this one. Search. Download. Okay. Did the wallpaper come on that laptop? It was the one that was here when I logged in, but I think this might be the default right here. I'm not sure because I think Windows synced it across from my Zephyrus G14. But I like this wallpaper a little bit better anyway. What do you think about the Omen 17T laptop? Do they have a new RTX 3000 17T? Because I've not seen any RTX. And I've not reviewed the Omen 17T. Oh, do they have one? Let's see. 15Z 17T. Okay, let's see here. 1650 Ti. So it's the budget. I think you're talking about this one probably. Kind of the budget-oriented model. Looks like they have some. I'm guessing you probably don't want to buy this one unless you've got a really good discount. And yeah, these are not good enough discounts for me to encourage you. Like there was this basically something very similar to this. I think it was an i5 processor with a 1650, so basically similar to this. Over Black Friday, they basically had this unit for $479, almost half this price. But it was a 15-inch version or a 16-inch version, I think. I think it was a 15.6-inch version. So this is just priced too high for me to recommend to people. It may have been a 1650, not 1650 Ti. There's a little bit of difference there. But yeah, in general, that's a tough situation. Hey, this did go through. Okay, performing clean install. Install. Maybe we don't need to manually install it. No, I'm talking about the Omen 17T. Okay. How the heck did you pay $1,100? I had to pay $1,500. I'm not sure what you're talking about, laser active guy. You're probably responding to someone else. When will the XG ROG mobile be available? Sonic Destiny. So I was able to buy the Flow X13 with the ROG XG mobile to come with it. And I think I have seen the XG mobile for sale on Asus's store for a short period of time. But that's if you're going to get the Flow X13, I would say either buy it, assuming you're not going to get the XG Mobile, or buy it with the XG Mobile, because I think buying the XG Mobile may be very difficult in the future. What was the price of this laptop? It's in the thumbnail. It's $14.99. The Tough Dash with the 307p is $1,300 USD. You mean 3070? Yeah, it's $1,300 on Best Buy. Is a good option for that price. Alejandro, I think that's a pretty good option, Alejandro. But it's sold out like crazy because it's a $150 discount. $1,300, you're talking $200 more. And so you're getting a GPU upgrade, and then you're also upgrading the display, I believe, going from the base model Tough Dash to that 3070 model. So yeah, I think that's the cheapest RTX 3070 I've seen. That's $1,300 for 3070 is crazy, but it's also one of the weakest 3070 setups you can get right now. Okay, we are up to date on our drivers now. Afterburner is running. We need this to be set up correctly. Cool. Start with Windows. Cool. Start with Windows. Okay. Time to set our performance profile. Okay, I gotta say the G14 right now, we've just been sitting here waiting for drivers to install. The G14 is much cooler to the touch. Basically, it's only warm in the middle right now. The warm in the middle, and oddly enough, warm on the edges. Like the right and like, if I were to pull this back a little bit here and just kind of give you an idea. So right now, the center here is warm. WASD is cool. Laptop wrist is cool. Warm, warm. So it's kind of like a warm, 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 cooler. So like where you actually type is cooler, and both wrist rests are cooler as well. And I've been in performance mode is what I've been using. So I can pretty much guarantee you if I had max fans running though, it would be cool to the touch. But that's also going to be much more noisy. Are you guys ready to hear the fans kick on? The fans should kick on here. Yeah, they're coming on. Okay. The jet engine has taken off. All right, Cyberpunk. Let's do it. What is the wattage of the 3060 and Ryzen 9 5900HS? Check the video description. I linked to what Asus has said it is, but we're also about to find out. We are about to find out right now. I believe it's a 60 to 85 watt according to Asus. If it is a 60 to 85 watt, it should provide some good performance in Cyberpunk, but we'll see. What I would love to see is playable frame rates at 1080p with RTX enabled and DLSS on quality. Like to me, that was like the ideal setup. Okay, so okay. Here we are. Cool, cool, cool. Close that, make sure nothing else is running. All right. I think we're good to go. Let's Load it up. How much wattage is the 3060? It should be 60 to 85. But you have to keep in mind this thing weighs only like 3.5 pounds. I think that's plenty of wattage to push through this. A laptop that is this thin and light, and you're not going to find a laptop that is this size that has a higher wattage. You might be able to find one that's a similar weight in a bigger chassis, like a 15-inch chassis that weighs less than 4 pounds, like, for example, the Electronics Max 15. But I don't think you're going to find one that's going to be a higher wattage for the same in a 14-inch package, or at least not much higher wattage. At least it's going to be very similar. Okay, ray tracing on ultra. Everything else is on high. Okay, high, ultra, and we're going to set our performance to quality for DLSS. Video, we're going to set to full screen, 1080p, like we do every time. VSync is off. Cool. And now we load in to our benchmark section. What's up, Matthias? Been looking at the G14 and 15, but saw Omen with 3070, but with Intel for a bit less. Comparable? Yeah, and the nice thing about that Omen 15T is that it does have a mux switch too. So, or at least that's what HP has told me. I've not been able to test one, but basically the Omen 15T will have better CPU-bound game performance, but a worse CPU. Okay, here we are, RTX 3060. Look at that. We're hitting right around 40 FPS, 48 right now. This is RTX on Ultra, DLSS on quality. Just run around for a moment here. This is going to be a lower demand area, but ooh, look at those reflections. Wow. Okay, all right, let's go into the benchmark section and see what we get. All right. I have restarted the benchmark. Can this be used in clamshell with a monitor, or does it have to be open? Trumpix, I have not tested it. I just got this thing and unboxed it. I saw someone else mention that they run into performance issues when they close it into clamshell. So I'm sure it can be ran in clamshell, but if you're going to run it in clamshell, you might want to run the fans higher just to make sure it stays cool enough. So right now we're hitting 42, 35. That is not bad at all. This is definitely in the realm of playability, even with RTX on Ultra and everything maxed out. That said, I bet you in some areas of the game, we're going to run into frame rate issues. So we got 4235. That's really good. Just kind of looking around. Very smooth. I mean, if I was playing this game, I'd probably try to push the frame rate closer to 60. That way, even when you get into more demanding areas, it gets down to maybe 45, 50 or something. But it's not showing the watts consumption. Oh, yeah, it's not up here. Interesting. Maybe it's on the wrong wattage checked. Good call out there. I'm really curious what this is pulling. Let's check our Afterburner settings. See if we can get that to show. If not, I might have to pull it up with HW info or something. GPU 1 temperature, GPU 1 usage. I don't think. Where is it? GPU core class 1, GPU 2. GPU 2, it says it's GPU 2 power right here. This is the one we're looking for. It's checked. It's not showing up. Does HW info have a number for it? Let's see. HW info shows we're pulling 60 watts right now with a peak of 96 watts, but that doesn't really matter. We're only averaging 63 FPS right now, but let's go ahead and we can set this to go into our overlay. GPU power show in overlay. Boom. And also our CPU power. I want our CPU power as well. CPU package power. The only downside here is it might be a little tricky now knowing which one's which, but I guess it's going to be, the number should be different enough to know. Okay. So there we go. We got our package power. Our CPU is pulling 25 watts. We're getting 76 watts to the GPU right now, 77 watts to the GPU, 75. We were hitting 60 though. So I think it's going to depend, in a game like Cyberpunk, it's going to depend on what area of the map you're in. So 77, 75. Also, don't see the CPU temperature? Yeah, we don't. Okay. Let's get CPU temperature going with that as well. So CPU core temp. Okay. All right, so now we got our CPU temps right here, CPU wattage and our GPU wattage. So CPU temp, CPU wattage, GPU wattage. All right. I'm liking this Ryzen laptop. Yeah. Warzone? I will be doing, if you want a Warzone test with this game, or this laptop, you'll have to come back for my live benchmarks. Because in this review, I'm only going to do Cyberpunk, and then we're going to do, I should probably just I guess I go to parking. Okay. So in this video, we're going to do Cinebench R20 still. We've got TimeSpy 3D Mark, and then we've also going to do Valorant. So those are the next tests we're going to be doing here. Look at that ray traced lighting. Oh my gosh. This is playing great though. Again, like I said, I would probably turn the graphics down just a little bit. But so far we're averaging, well, I got to probably restart the average because we had it minimized for a little while. Hey, Brandon, will you be testing the Zephyrus G14 with 40 gigs of RAM? Aaron, I'd like to. It's just a lot of hassle. Obito, I will be doing CSGO. Obito, I will be doing CSGO with my live benchmark with this laptop. That's one of the benchmarks I'll be doing. So come back for the live benchmarking session. Okay, so very nice. We're getting great performance at least through that section. Let's go ahead and do some old combat action. Where is it? Is it this one? I feel like this might be a little past it. What are the settings? We're on maximum settings, Aaron. I will also be testing Red Dead Redemption 2 in my live benchmarks. So here we are, another section of the game. Let's see what we average in this area. These dead bodies are moving around. LOL. So this part of the game is already, I want to go back further. Let's go back. Oh, hey, this is, I've got a lot of different areas. Interesting. Okay. This must be my main. I forgot that I actually played Cyberpunk mainly on this account. Is DLSS on? Yes, we have DLSS on quality, RTX on ultra. Everything else is on ultra, at least all the ultra presets. So, and we're getting playable frame rates. But like I said, I would probably lower some of the settings to kind of boost more towards the 60 FPS range. But these are the settings I test on, so it's kind of why I'm doing this. Piece of crap pistol. I'm looking for 16 gigs of RAM, soldered at least RTX 2 with the QHD panel, FreeSync, high hertz, and lower response time. No Ryzen, maybe Intel if you think it's worth it. John Frau, I would probably recommend the Zephyrus G14. Check out my recent review. It sounds like it would meet a lot of your requirements. Also, the Zephyrus G15 is a little bit easier to get than some of the higher TDP laptops out there. Oh, you threw a grenade at me. Run. Yeah, so we're definitely getting some dips in FPS closer to 30, which is, again, a little bit lower than what I prefer. I mean, this is certainly playable, but I'm about to have this guy shoot through the wall. Okay. He's closer than I thought. So we're going to kill this guy. I'm trying not to die, though. I'm almost dead. I'm trying to find a... Okay, there's a healing thing. There we go. Heal me up. There we go. All right, very nice. Okay, so averaging 37 FPS with 27 FPS for our 1% lows. Not bad. But like I said, let's just see, like, what do we get when we just say we put everything on medium and then put ray tracing on medium with DLSS on quality. Let's see what that looks like. See, we're not even getting that much of an FPS difference. We're getting like 5 or 6 more FPS when we put stuff lower. So it's kind of like a weird balance in this game. I mean, if we put everything on low and turn DLSS off and RTX off, we're going to get way better frames. See, now we're getting 82, 83. Super responsive. So you can kind of customize this game to be like, hit the settings that you really want to see in a game. Let's run Time Spy and Cinebench, and then we'll install Valorant. Okay. Checking out. So RTX on and DLSS off is not something I would recommend on any, at least not on Cyberpunk, because you're going to kill your FPS. And in my opinion, DLSS on quality is like perfect. Really, really good quality. I'd love to see more benchmarks versus last gen laptops. So Alex, do you watch any of my regular videos? Because I do a lot of comparisons in those videos. The thing is, I've recently changed how I do my benchmarks, so I can't compare last gen laptops against a lot of my newer benchmarks that I run, and that's the reason. That's the reason why you see limited RTX 2000 laptops on those benchmark charts. G15 looks great, but I can't find it anywhere. Are there certain days of the week they restock? So, John, one way to keep track of this sheet right here is one tool you can use. I update this twice a day. I have someone else that helps me update it too, but checking the stock on all the RTX 3000 laptops here. And there's a way you can sign up for notifications. If you go to Tools, Notification Rules, and then you go under here, you can hit notify me when changes are made, when a user submits a form. So you want to do any changes are made, and then you can do email right away. And this will shoot you an email whenever I update the sheet or my assistant updates the sheet. And so this will allow you to be up to date when I add new laptops here. And I'll add the new laptops to this section right here whenever there's new stock. That said, if you really, really want to know when something's in stock, you'll want to just check that. You'll want to refresh the page over and over again, right? Boom, refresh, refresh, refresh. Because you don't like if you don't want to miss out. Okay, we're running Time Spy here. You can see we're pushing 80 watts of power into the GPU right now. That's pretty dang good. And this is going to allow us to boost a little bit higher in performance, especially compared to last year, the 2060. Keep in mind that you're not going to be able to get 80 watts of power in all of the games out there, though, because of dynamic boost. So dynamic boost is going to reduce that down lower in some games. G15 3070 is off of Best Buy websites. So Alex, it came back onto Best Buy's website, and I think so what the issue that happened with the Best Buy G15 was that I think they accidentally marked it on sale for $50 off, and they were like, "Oops, we sold too many of those," and then they were like, I think because I don't know why they would mark it on sale because it's already like one of the best-selling laptops out there. So it was marked on sale. They were like, "Oops," and I think they sold a bunch of them, and then it probably, and shortly after the sale happened, like I think later that same day, they removed the listing from the site. And I imagine whenever they get more in stock, I think this happened about 5 days ago. Whenever they get more in stock, I imagine they will remake the G15 with the RTX 3070 available on Best Buy's website, but I have no way to guarantee that. So, but that's my current guess about what happened with the G15. Change the screen. Oh, sorry, guys. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Chat, is G15 that bad with bottlenecking? So John Frau, watch my review. I talk about that. And I talk about the different use cases. Like it doesn't bottleneck in GPU-bound games, but it bottlenecks more in CPU-bound games. And I would expect the same thing to happen with this laptop. But the thing is, we're only going for a 1080p 144 hertz refresh rate on this machine, so it's going to be a bit easier to hit those target numbers. And I just realized that you guys weren't able to see this whole benchmark run, so I apologize because I was showing you the sheet. Should have switched back a little sooner. But right now, you can see in the CPU test, we're pulling 55 watts, 65 watts, 88 degrees on the CPU. This does have liquid metal paste on the CPU, but you see that we're pulling 4.2 gigahertz on the CPU. So very, very impressive for a laptop this thin and light. But I think it's going to run really hot. Look at that, 8800 and 7511 for our graphics score. The Gigabyte G5 that can pull 105 watts pushed, I think, 8,200. So I think you're looking at 700 more points when you get a thicker, much thicker, beefier machine. Let me pull that out real quick. Okay, I pulled out the real quick. I'm just going to show you guys. So right there, just switch battery system to the integrated GPU. So here is the Gigabyte G5. All right. So we're lined up perfectly there. Look at that size difference. So you're looking at something that's 0.7 inches and much smaller profile there. The Gigabyte G5 costs $400 less though. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But like, look at the size difference. It's a big difference when it comes to size. And I think size matters a lot for some people. And if your size matters a lot for you, that's where the Gigabyte G5 becomes much more attractive, you know? So So that's the size comparison with the Gigabyte G5. Then we have the Asus Tough Dash F15 right here. So this is also basically the exact same size as the Zephyrus G15 as well. You can see size-wise, there's a big difference for this one as well, but it's not so much thickness. They're almost the same thickness between these two. But it's more just about the overall profile size. Let me tilt this up a little bit. There. So you can see there's a pretty big difference in overall footprint. But yeah, so that gives you an idea if you're trying to shop around for how much smaller this laptop is. It's much tinier, much more portable. For someone that needs to put this into your backpack every single day and just take it with you nonstop, I think you'll be a lot happier not carrying the extra weight, especially if you're a smaller person or you don't want as much weight in your backpack because your shoulders hurt or whatever. Okay. My ex said size matters a lot. Sad face. Okay. I was gonna do it. That's what she said joke somewhere in there, but I was like, Okay. All right. So Cinebench time. Cinebench R20. So I think that was probably a good run for the laptop. So we just switched back to the NVIDIA GPU, I think. 7511, 8872. Impressive. Impressive for a system so thin and light. I think this is going to top my charts for performance per pound. It's probably going to top my charts for performance per pound for GPU and CPU. I think. But we'll find out. Keep in mind that I don't count these runs as my official runs. I will be doing these runs again later on after I've double checked all the drivers and tried to optimize the system overall. LOL, small GPU problems. Which is better, RTX 3070 Max P or 2070 Super? The RTX 3070, assuming you're also talking about a higher TDP RTX 3070, the RTX 3070 is way better. Especially or not way better, but it's noticeably better. Probably like 15%-ish better if they have the same TDPs. But it's going to vary a lot depending on your title. Like 10 to 15%. What CPU is on there? Does it have a MUX? Is it a GPU-bound game, CPU-bound game? So many variations there. Would you go with a 1440p external monitor or a 1080p external monitor? Nick Young, I would go 1440p external monitor. Ooh, 4968. 4968. That's impressive. That's higher than the Zephyrus G15. Okay. All right. So we're pulling 65 watts of power consistently right now. 66. We're averaging 65.7. Our temperatures are 87 degrees Celsius. So keep in mind, we have 3 shared heat pipes on this chassis, meaning that when we are running a CPU-only load, all of the 4 fan exhausts are just putting out CPU heat. So almost all of the cooling becomes dedicated to just the CPU in this laptop thermal design, which is, I think, the best style of thermal design for a laptop of this size. That said, I mean, these temperatures are getting high, but considering that we're putting 65 watts of power through it, that's impressive. 4870, again, a little bit higher than the Zephyrus G15. I think the Zephyrus G15 had 4600, 4670, 4700 or so on average. Does it support 2 USB monitors? Does it support 2 external monitors through USB-C? Russell, probably, but I've never tried doing that, so I'm not sure what the limitations are, but it's a full-on DisplayPort, and I think DisplayPorts can do that normally. Probably depends on what resolution you're trying to go with each of the external monitors. When would you switch to Cinebench R23? Alvaret, I run our Cinebench R23 consistently now in all of my laptop reviews. I'm just trying to get more data. Probably after a few more laptops being benchmarked, I'll be switching over to that for all my performance metrics because I think it's a little bit more reliable. Okay, so you need more dual channel memory. Yeah, that's totally fine and understandable then. 49.55. 49.55. This is impressive. This is really impressive for a 14-inch chassis. Raw CPU performance through the roof. My Zephyrus G14 gets 5,080 score. Nice. Gives any recommendations for a best 4K gaming laptop? Probably the best 4K gaming laptop, you'll want to get a 120 hertz 4K display. Right now, the laptops that have 4K 120 would be the Razer Blade Pro 17 and the Zephyrus Duo 15. I wouldn't really recommend, in general, though, I wouldn't really. I think 4K is a little bit overkill on the laptop's display. If you're going to play 4K games on an external monitor, that's more what I would recommend. And if you're going to play on the internal monitor, I would recommend a QHD display because just 4K is something you can't really tell a difference with. 49.41. Wow. So this is averaging 300 points more than the Zephyrus G15. What the heck? That's very impressive. Okay, last run. Now, so Niles, in general, though, I would say for the specifications you want on the inside for a 4K gaming laptop, you just want the highest TDP to the GPU as possible. So if you're talking 4K external monitor gaming, I'd recommend going with the Alienware M17R4, probably, or the MSI GE76, because both of those have 150 watts to the GPU, which is going to boost the 4K gaming experience because you're going to get more performance out of the GPU. But I would say at least you want to get a 115 to 130 watt RTX 3080 or 3070 for 4K gaming, because those two are both going to do really well with 4K gaming, as long as you're okay with a little bit less frame rates, obviously. Gives any recommendations that is a 3060 gaming laptop? So the most performance 3060, you're going to check my spreadsheet, but the Gigabyte G5 is a great option for people that are looking for the most performance per dollar. I've got two 3060 laptops right here. We've got the Gigabyte G5 right there, and we've got the Asus Tough Dash right here. This is a more premium, thinner, lighter laptop, but a little bit less performance. If you want more performance, go with the Gigabyte G5. And if you want something that's super portable, that's where the Zephyrus G14 comes in with the RTX 3060. Costs a bit more, though, because it's $400 more. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Let's see here. Now we got Valorant. We're doing Valorant, and that'll be the end of the stream for today. Gustavo Boza, what's been waiting for this review to make a final decision, and I think I've made it. Thanks, Giz. Yeah. So, what did you decide, Gustavo? What are you gonna go with? I'm curious. All right. Okay. What are your thoughts on this laptop versus the Tough Dash? So the Tough Dash is a larger size. You know, it's wider, it's deeper. It's not going to fit on, like, example, on your lap in an airplane as easily. Bigger display, though, which you may like for gaming. The Tough Dash comes with the Intel 4-core processor, not nearly as much processor performance as this 8-core Ryzen. You get a Thunderbolt on the Tough Dash, which is going to allow you to use an eGPU later on down the line if you want to. What else? I mean, they're both going to have great battery life. The display, I think, is going to be better on this Zephyrus G14 because we got 100% sRGB on this one. We only have, I think, 63% sRGB on the Tough Dash. So, but if you get the 240 hertz Tough Dash, you're going to have a better display. So it depends on which one you're getting. Does this still have heat issues like the last gen G14? Justin, I would think this is going to still heat up if you don't use higher fans, right? If you don't use higher fans, it's gonna heat up a bit more. I'm gonna check. We're gonna check for ghosting now in Valorant. So 144 hertz is what we have running right now. We're gonna have to restart this. Running in turbo mode, I'm seeing 5190 in Cinebench R20 with the G14. Nice. So maybe turbo mode boosts the CPU a little bit more. Best price to performance laptop on the market right now. What's your price point, John? Because that's like, yes, best price performance, but like, I think a lot of people have like, they want to go for something like the best price to performance is going to be an RTX 3060 laptop, probably the Gigabyte G5, probably the best price to performance, at least for GPU. If you want to go for something that's more CPU performance or like a balance of the two, it'd probably be like something like the Tough Dash A15 or the Gigabyte A5, which is going to cost you a little bit more, closer to $1,300, because you get a Ryzen 8 core full power CPU with that one. But then when you step up to a higher budget tier, you're looking at differences in when you go up to say a $2,000 price point, you can get like an RTX 3080 for 2,000, like the Aorus 15G, you can get a 3080. And I think the Zephyrus G15, you can get an RTX 3080 too with that one. But the thing is, the Aorus 15G has a mux switch, so you just get more performance out of that mux switch for CPU-bound games. So I mean, for me, my top recommendation for like the very best bang for the buck is probably the Gigabyte G5, but that's like super budget, less premium build. If you want to get middle tier, best bang for the buck would probably be something with like a higher TDP, RTX 3080, 3070, or 3080. So you're looking at like the Strix G17, for example, being a great option. And then when you go up to even more performance, like the very best out of like the super high-end premium laptops, you're probably looking at like the Strix Scar 17, Scar 15, or maybe, well, probably something with a 3080, 130 to 150 watt range for around 2,500 is probably going to give you the best blend of performance per dollar. Maybe like the GE76 with a 3070, that might be a good option. I don't know. There's so many factors, and that's why it's so hard for me to be like, this is the best performance per dollar, because for the GPU maybe, but not for the CPU. And then when you get more performance on the CPU side, that makes everything cost a bit more. And then the GPU performance per dollar isn't as high. So yeah, there's so many factors involved. Will you be doing color accuracy and brightness tests? Phantom Online, I do test with the I do test with the Spider 5 Elite. I test the nits brightness, the color gamut, and the contrast. So I check the Adobe the sRGB, the Adobe RGB, and the P3 color gamut. I don't do detailed accuracy analysis though. So but that's basically what I do for the color testing. All right. It has a lot of space for a webcam. Still, they didn't add it. So disappointed. Had to pre-order the Legion 5 Pro because of the webcam. Yep, a lot of people are gonna skip this laptop because it doesn't have a webcam. I mentioned this to Asus, like, you need to start including webcams, man. Come on. Where's the webcam? No webcam. Yeah. You can use your smartphone as a webcam too. That's a good, cheap alternative to people that are wanting to get a webcam and use it on the go. You can use Bluetooth to stream the video from the smartphone camera. You can use a wire if the Bluetooth doesn't work consistently for you, like a USB to the whatever smartphone you have, or you can use the Wi-Fi. So there's 3 ways you can connect the smartphone to the laptop, and then once you have it all set up, it's very easy to reset it up. Okay, so hopping in here, looking around, I definitely see I definitely see a little bit of ghosting, quickly moving it from left to right. So know that you still are going to get some ghosting on this thing, but it feels very responsive still. Like, it feels like there's a lot less delay than last year's model. I'm by myself. Okay. I don't have any sound here. I am planting this bomb, even though I don't have that many teammates. Oh, someone over here. Oh, I got shot from the side. Come on, team. You can do it. All right, what is ghosting? So ghosting is when the display does not update quickly enough, and you end up seeing kind of like an overlay of the past image over the new image. It makes it so that it doesn't look quite as clear when you're doing very fast, quick action type stuff. We also need HW info to launch as well. So our overlay is complete. Okay. So did we lose? I think we lost. Oh, maybe we won. I don't know. Did we win? Load. I mean, this is feeling great to game on. The WASD key is staying consistently. Oh, someone was camping in the corner. Why isn't that person shooting? What? Okay. Can I do a speaker test? Sure. Let me try turning the speakers on. Speakers are loud. I can hear them clearly over the loud fan noise. So you can see right now we're averaging 183 FPS. Let me reset it again because I think I keep minimizing it and I'm messing up. So I think we're averaging over 200 FPS actually. Let's check what settings we're on. I usually do high, 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 anti-aliasing 4x, anisotropic 8x. Okay. So these are the settings I normally run. Let's try doing a new balance. Go team. Okay, and taking a quick look at our temperatures. Look at that, 60 and 65. So at least on max fans, we do not have any problems with temps. Ooh. Is that so? Oh, these speakers sound good. It's kind of like a rumbly sound. Boom. I blinded myself. No. Oh, God. I should have crouched. Oh, man. This is awesome. Look at these. We're getting good temps. I mean, this is not that demanding of a game, though. But I think the key here is to recognize that your temperatures are going to vary a lot from game to game. You know, some games are going to spike more, like say in Battlefield 5, where everything's really optimized, versus a game like this. You know, everything is super optimized so well that it can run really, really well no matter what, pretty much. Okay, we're gonna try to out shotgun that camper guy. Okay, that's our goal right now. The guy keeps camping that corner. Would you say the speakers are better, louder than last year's? They're supposed to be, but I'd have to like have them side by side to be able to do an accurate comparison, Phantom Online. But they're supposed to be louder and improved compared to last year's model. Oh. Oh, wasn't enough. I should have thrown my fireball around the corner. I'm probably going to go with the MSI GE76 if no stock on Asus is continued. Matero, yeah, if you're in the market and you really want to get the very best bang for the buck, I'd say you can get the GE or the very best performance for a GPU. Go with the GE76 or the Alienware M17R4, but also just keep in mind that we do have the new Intel CPUs around the corner sometime. So if you're going to get those, I would recommend trying to get them on sale in some way. For $2,000, maybe you could get a decent 3070 Max Q or 130 watt 3070. Yeah, you can. For 2000, well, for 2000, you can get a decent 3080. So, but there's not that big of a difference between a 3070 and a 3080 anyway this year. So, oh, yes. I mean, yeah, you can see that I'm aiming just fine with this. Okay, we're gonna look for this dude. There's always camping this corner. He's not camping the corner this time. This person calling out like enemy locations? Oh, I've got the bomb. I've got the bomb. I'm gonna plant it. Plant. I just forgot that I had the bomb. How do you think the G3070 stacks up against this from a value perspective? I think the Zephyrus G14 is going to provide a bit better performance because of the increased TDPs, but this is going to provide still a great level of performance for someone who just wants something that's super thin and portable. You know, like you're not sacrificing almost any CPU performance. You're mainly just sacrificing GPU performance only. Does that make sense? So if you're willing to sacrifice some GPU performance, and this for the sake of portability, that's the main trade-off you're making with the G14 versus the G15. Anyone has any idea when the G15, G14, 2020 will be released in India? We only have Strix, Scar, and Dash yet. No 30 series. Other brands haven't released yet. Steve, I don't know. You just got to keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot of people really curious about that. There needs to be some Indian tech YouTubers that talk about this because I get the India stock question so often. And I just don't know. Oh, you got me. Call of Duty Cold War runs at 80C to 90C for me, not running max fans. Yeah, so the thing to keep in mind with this laptop is that if you don't run it in max fans, what's going to happen is it'll try to balance the thermals of the laptop versus the fan noise. So it's just going to run everything at like 80, probably around the 85 degrees Celsius mark for the CPU, maybe 90s, 80s to 90s, and then for the GPU, it's going to try to keep it around 75 to 80, most likely. So just know that the fan noises are going to ramp, and you're just going to hit those consistent temperatures as it ramps up and down. So. But certainly in games like Valorant, we're getting great GPU performance, great CPU performance, and great temperatures, at least on manual mode. And the screen is responsive enough to have a good time, but you do still have some ghosting on the display. I'm curious if we do we have any settings in Armoury Crate? Because sometimes there's like panel overdrive and stuff like that. iGPU is off. Panel power saver. Yeah, we don't want panel power saver on, I don't think. Ooh, I think that reduced the ghosting just a little bit. I think that reduced the ghosting just a tiny bit. They try to use that setting probably to boost. Oh, no way. Boom. All right, can I do one of these successfully? Okay, so the last person's over there today. Oh yes, we won. Okay, worth it? 3060 Max Q or Max P? I mean, you're just going to get more performance with the Max P. I mean, that's just going to be true consistently no matter what, right? But I think the bigger question of a Max Q versus Max P is, can you play the games that you want to play at the frame rates you want to play them at? If you can play it, like that was the reason why I ended up going with the Razer and being really happy with the Razer for a long time. It's because I was playing the games I wanted to play at the frame rates I wanted to play at, and it wasn't a problem, But I think that's the thing. Like, it's just going to vary from person to person. Oh, you got me. And like, so if you play Call of Duty Warzone, you're probably going to want to get a laptop with a Mux, one that's got a really good CPU and a high enough TDP at the same time, because it like uses everything. But if all you do is play Valorant or Overwatch, you're probably going to be super happy with a laptop like this. Like I was playing Black Desert Online in MMO, and you can play that game with a lot of the different laptops that are out there and have really great FPS. And so I think it just comes down to case by case basis, But obviously the laptops with the most flexibility and the most future proofing are going to be the ones with the higher TDP profiles and stuff like that. Is the RTX 3060 worse than the RTX 2070 Super? One, it's just going to depend on what TDP. They're going to be very similar in performance between the 3060 and the 2070 Super. What do you think about this G14 versus the 3060 model of the G15? I think they're going to provide very similar performance, John Fan, most likely, between the G14 and G15. It's just a better display on the G15 and better portability on the G14. And you get slightly better TDPs and stuff like that on the G15 too, I think. But CPU performance will be almost identical. But I really like the QHD display you get on the G15. So that's probably the biggest difference, honestly, between the two. What's up, Abdul? Oh my God, very wonderful. What? So here, can I go through this? Oh, it's just people can come through it towards me, I think, right? Is that the idea? Okay. If I capture this, I can use my ultimate, so. We going in! I didn't see any bad guys. Oh! Oh, the guy was just camping me. Oh, man. Okay, would you say the battery life is about equal to that of last year's model? Adam's Apple, they're both 7-nanometer processors, so it's going to be very similar, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. So my take on the Zephyrus G14 and my initial impressions, very impressive laptop. You're going to have some warmer temperatures. The chassis is going to heat up a bit, but you're going to be able to play almost every single game out there on reasonable settings. You are sacrificing primarily GPU performance with this laptop compared to something that's thicker and has a higher TDP. But you're still, I think, going to be, the vast majority of people are going to be very happy with this in terms of a general performer as far as the laptop goes. And I think that to me is probably the biggest key when it comes to whether or not I can recommend it. And so for someone that's just really looking for high performance, nonstop, tip top of the tippy top level GPU performance and still very high portable CPU bound performance, or CPU in general performance, like I'm thinking the G14, a lot of people are going to be buying this thing and being really happy with it, considering it's just a little monster CPU processing power and great little gaming laptop on the go. But if you want good temperatures on it, I think you're definitely going to want to run the fans at a higher level than, wait, teammate? Yeah, it's a teammate. You definitely want to run the fans at a higher level if you want the best temperatures on this chassis, because they're definitely pushing the level of performance that you can get in a laptop that's this thin and light, without a doubt. So yeah, I think I can definitely recommend this laptop, but just be aware of the trade-offs you're making when you make this choice in terms of buying it. Out of 10, what score would you give it? Out of stock out of 10? Well, this is currently not out of stock yet, unless it went out of stock since I started this stream. Let me see. Yeah, we're still in stock, at least on the Best Buy website. So this will be, at least so far, one of the laptops that's available to purchase still. So is both USBs being on the one side annoying for plugging in the mouse? Sometimes, Akash, it can be, yeah. You'll just have to get used to that. So I'll be doing CSGO in my live benchmarks. So that's it for this live stream, guys. I hope you found it helpful and useful in helping you decide whether this laptop was the right one for you. Yeah. No, I didn't buy this laptop for $10.99. I bought this for $14.99. So anyway, guys, I will see you guys in the next live stream. If you don't want to miss out, I'll be doing live benchmarks on this. It'll probably be a several-hour session where I just live stream the crap out of this and do like 15 different game benchmarks. So I'll be testing a ton of games in that, and I'll be doing a full review on this as well. So if you don't want to miss out on that full review, also consider subscribing if you want to check that out as well. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out.